Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 184 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel is back this time out, ready to preview the Hungarian Grand Prix after the highs of last weekend back at Silverstone, one that Jamie and I am sure will talk about for years to come. We've returned today, back at the Hungaroring for a track that, when it rains, is fantastic. When it's dry, it's normally a bit boring. I don't quite know what the weather's going to be doing this weekend. So, Jamie, first of all, how are you doing? Second of all, what's the weather looking like? Because you're now our weatherman.
I'm good, yes. You may have noticed my background is different from how it was last week because I've moved once again for like the 15th time on this podcast, it feels like. I've just typed in weather in Manchester. That's not going to be very helpful, is it?
Jamie's doxed himself to kickstart the show.
Yeah. You have to search far and wide in Manchester. The weather is perfectly dry. That's a shame.
Well, that is disappointing, isn't it?
And it's 30 plus, though, so in terms of temperature. Excessive heat warning. So it could be a tyre wear central, depending on the tyres they bought. But, when was the last time we had a good dry race at Hungary?
Has there ever been a good dry race at Hungary?
2019 was pretty good, I seem to remember.
Was it?
Well, that's when Bottas just decided to crash into everyone at the end, wasn't it? But
in the end?
At the end, when he crashed with Vettel and crashed with Ricciardo.
I don't remember this, but you're probably right.
Or maybe it was 18 or 19, I can't remember. But, yeah, that was... I mean, Hamilton just walked away with that one. It must have been 2018, actually, yeah. So, it's been a while, but it's not a bad track. It does weirdly throw up some alright races, but yeah, as you say, usually when it rains. But I'm excited. We've got an 8-way fight at the front of the grid, apparently now, if you include Hulkenberg and discount Perez.
I don't, to be fair. I discount Perez, but I certainly don't include Hulkenberg, suddenly.
Well, he outqualified both Ferraris last week.
Wow.
So, we'll see. Which it should be a good race, because it's certainly different to most tracks we have on the calendar now, and the characteristics should favour both Ferrari and McLaren, really. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, well, it is a very, very interesting circuit, as you mentioned. And obviously you say there about how it should favour McLaren and Ferrari. And I'm immediately going to try and bang this drum then, Jamie. Mercedes, since the turn of the hybrid era, have only not qualified on pole here twice. That was 2017 and 2019. Even in the last 2 years when they haven't had a car that's competitive, somehow on both occasions they've still stuck it on pole.
About that.
It's a really odd circuit, isn't it? And I'm just going to continue banging this drum. Hamilton has 8 wins here in the past, and I believe 9 pole positions. He loves this circuit.
Insane. He does.
Could Mercedes really make it 3 in a row this weekend? Could Hamilton suddenly now have 2 tracks where he's taken 9 wins?
Well, it's certainly possible. Is that based on, I guess, their form? They got pole at Canada. They won at Austria, and they got pole and won at Silverstone. So, Mercedes dominance could bore fans, as we once said.
Only the once.
But we will see. Hamilton's definitely very good round here, apart from that time in 2015 when he had an absolute stinker, but still beat Rosberg because Ricciardo's a mug. We shall see. But they're certainly on form.
Or are you thinking of 2014?
No, definitely 15. Definitely. When he just drove off the track at the chicane after they both got a terrible start and he blamed Rosberg.
Fair enough.
Yeah, still salty. Almost a decade later.
Of course you are. And that's actually worrying to think about, that it's nearly been a decade since Rosberg retired.
That's outrageous.
It's
always been a decade since we met, because we met.
Oh, don't worry.
That's terrible.
Like we said though, it's a really odd track, isn't it? Because we say now how Mercedes have been really good here in the last couple of years. Throughout the early stages of the turbo hybrid era, though, obviously Mercedes didn't win during 2 of their most dominant ever eras of Formula 1, or 2 of their most dominant ever seasons.
Yeah, it wasn't a great track for them.
It's a really odd little circuit, isn't it? And like we said, considering it's often described as Monaco without the barriers, especially when it rains, usually therefore delivers a banger, but it is a really, really odd track. Jamie, can you name me different drivers that have taken their first ever win at the Hungarian Grand Prix?
This is the real quiz?
This isn't your quiz. This is just a random little one. Because we
First
did
ever
this
win.
on the podcast, on our community tab, a couple of days ago.
On our one that I haven't maybe seen.
Well, that's disappointing, isn't it?
I have seen it. I just didn't recall any answers. First ever win, or Jensen Button.
Yep.
Heikki Kovalainen, welcome to the world of winning. Not Danny Rick, he was in the win number 2, wasn't it? Are there any more recent ones than that?
Yes.
Yes. Oh dear. Did Alonso in 03?
Alonso did in 03, yes.
Who am I obviously forgetting? Oh, Esteban Ocon.
Esteban Ocon.
Such a fraudulent win, but we'll somehow allow it. Any more? Any other recent ones?
No, not recent.
Okay, well, Damon Hill almost won here in Arrows.
Yep, he is actually the correct answer. He took his first ever win here in 1993. You got there via completely the wrong route.
I knew that. Any more that you think I'll get?
Not that I'm aware of, I don't think.
There you go. Smashed it. That's quiz number 1 out of the way.
And in another really odd way, isn't it? Hungary now is one of the longest staying tracks on the calendar.
It's the second longest.
Is it the second longest? Oh, consistent, yeah, I guess. Because obviously Belgium's had a couple of years out here and there, isn't it? But in terms of, obviously, being around, I mean, it's only still, even when you say that, trumped by what? Monza, Silverstone, Spa and Monaco.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it, Hungary?
Yeah. And it's been, 1982, I think was the first one? The first race behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah, 85, I got in my head.
I feel like I might not be wrong about that.
I feel like you are, because you don't know wheel. We have actually got some actual Formula 1 stuff to talk about as well. We've decided we're just going to go really rambly to kickstart this one today. Enrico Cardile, Jamie, has left Ferrari in a rather interesting twist to go to Aston Martin.
Oh, Aston Martin, interesting. Because they are really cooking, I think the kids call it, with the amount of facilities that are going up at the Silverstone factory and complex. And yeah, despite kind of going backwards ever since the season kicked off, they've been hiring a lot of very talented people. And actually, to be fair to them, the last 2 races they've been slightly more creditable. Just Alonso has been slightly off form, which you say very quietly in these parts.
You say it very quietly in most parts. Apparently, we've got a very strong Spanish audience on this show.
Yeah, and congratulations to Spain because they won the Euros, and I'm still sad.
We said we weren't going to talk about the Euros today. No one cares.
Yes, sadly I do. What were you saying? Oh, Cardile. I have no idea who he is, so you'll have to talk about this bit.
So Enrico Cardile was, I believe, the head of aerodynamics within the team, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so head of aerodynamics, but he's moving to Aston Martin as a chief technical officer, so a slightly different role. But interestingly, of course, this is kind of the Ferrari kind of obviously needing a new head of aerodynamics, but Fred Vasseur's overseeing that for a little while. Now, I can't say with any certainty about Fred Vasseur's background, because I'm sure, obviously, he's a very intelligent man, is Fred Vasseur. But he's been a team principal for a long time, not a head of aerodynamics, if I remember correctly. So, is he going to have to, brush off his old textbooks? Are we just going to see this kind of year being scrapped by Ferrari? It kind of already feels like it's going that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like they've had a successful year already because they won Monaco. And they're kind of chilling now, aren't they? Yeah, but Monaco was the main one, wasn't it? So...
Well, yeah, exactly. And they won Le Mans. So, all good things and all that.
But we'll see. Fred Vasseur in charge of the aerodynamics. I'd imagine that's what his background was. But as you say, he's been team principal of various different teams since, I would say, at least 10 years. Probably it's more.
Well, you think before, obviously, he was a team principal in Formula 1. He was ART, wasn't he? In Formula 2, when Hamilton was there.
Even if he has got this experience, it'll be from probably the 90s when he was coming through, or even earlier. So
is this when Fred Vasseur used to have hair?
It could be. You should do some background research on Fred Vasseur's hairline.
Fred Vasseur, 1990s.
But it will be interesting to see. Obviously, it's just an interim thing, and to be honest, everything's probably set in motion already for this season.
Oh yeah,
so that the
absolutely.
engineers will be very capable of doing it themselves without an overseer. So yeah, I don't imagine we'll see Fred Vasseur designing new parts for the Ferrari car.
Don't think he could do a much better job than the recent spec car they tried to bring, did they? Obviously, they've completely gone back on that now in the last few days, obviously over the British Grand Prix weekend. But of course, when you think aerodynamics, Jamie, you think of one person, don't you? And that one man is Adrian Newey, and apparently we are getting slightly closer to an idea as to where he's going. And it's down, apparently. I mean, it keeps getting thrown around, doesn't it? Aston Martin is still always the team that apparently where he's going. But apparently the rumour mill has been churning over the last few days that apparently McLaren are a much stronger possibility than anyone gave them credit for. Now that would be wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think Red Bull would be scared if he went to McLaren. I think they'd be scared if he goes anywhere, to be honest, which he obviously will do. But McLaren are already doing very well without him. I actually listened to a podcast with Zach Brown. I wasn't with him. I listened to a podcast that he was on.
You're sharing AirPods with him.
Yeah, one each. This is basically like a few months ago now, near the start of when he announced he was leaving Red Bull. Newey, that is. And Zach Brown basically said we're happy with our current team. So it felt like he wrote themselves out of the picture straight away. But now they're back, and I would be surprised if Newey went back to McLaren because, he's been there before. It was arguably the one team he hasn't had mad success with. He still won a few titles, but not like the prolonged success we saw at Williams or Red Bull. So has he got unfinished business, or is it like going back to an X? I don't know. So yeah, I still think Aston Martins are my favourite. Like, I still think he'll end up there. Jeremy Clarkson on the grid at Silverstone actually announced to the world that Newey is looking at houses in Oxfordshire rather than Maranello. So Ferrari seem out of the picture unless he wants to work remotely. And obviously Jeremy Clarkson and Adrian Newey went to school with each other, and Newey stole the design for the double diffuser from Jeremy Clarkson's textbook.
He did, apparently.
According to Top Gear.
I'm just going to quickly go back on your point there about McLaren. First of all, going back to your ex after 20 years, is that something you've had much experience with, Jamie?
Well, I don't have any exes, so there you go.
Look at that. He's a one-woman man. Ladies and gentlemen,
zero
Jamie is single and on the market if you're interested. Second of all, that McLaren team is a vastly different organisation to what it was 20 years ago as well. Ron Dennis isn't there anymore. Pretty much the entire technical staff has been overhauled in those 20 years.
Well, yeah, it'll be unrecognisable.
It's going back to a very different team.
Yeah, definitely. But it's still, the fact he's been there before, he kind of seems like he needs the fresh challenges he goes for are always like something new, something exciting. And obviously this McLaren team is totally different, but it's still a team he's worked for before. And I wonder if he wants to get involved with a bit of Fernando Alonso for a couple of years.
Yeah, but get involved with Hamilton at Ferrari, man. Come on. I mean, it's one of those bizarre things, isn't it? Because like you said, you are right with that. Obviously saying, that he does like exciting new projects. Do we get the tinfoil hat on, Jamie, just for a moment, and start to wonder, are we going to find out in a couple of years that Lawrence Stroll's being done for evading the cost cap in a bizarre way? Because the amount of money they seem to be able to throw at stuff right now.
Yeah. I think he's basically very clever, because it feels like when he took over the team in 2020... Yeah.
2018,
2019.
Really.
Oh, it was,
2018,
yeah, I guess.
Really, yeah.
But when they announced the cost cap was coming in for a following year, they basically started a ton of development on that site in terms of facilities and factories and massive projects like that. And I'm pretty sure the cost cap, obviously, so this is what James Vowles has been saying at Williams, for new projects are included in the cost cap. But old projects that were kind of ongoing when it came in, I'm not sure they are, in terms of like actual buildings and development of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't
because
believe so.
All of it was already underway when the cost cap came in. I'm pretty sure they can just ignore it. So he's been very clever with that. And whereas someone like Williams, who didn't have the financial muscle to do it at the time is now kind of stuck in a hole. Yeah, I think he's just been very clever because he's obviously a multi-millionaire and probably billionaire, isn't he? And,
he's comfortably a billion. He's thousands times over a millionaire, Jamie.
Yeah, and I feel like you wouldn't get to that level of success in business if you like knowingly broke the rules by accident. So maybe he's broken the rules cleverly, like Red Bull did, and he'll get away with it. But we'll see.
But that works very well for facilities. It doesn't work very well when you're hiring all of the big name team members from everywhere. That's the thing I'm thinking about.
It's top 3 salaries get ignored, don't they?
But that includes Fernando Alonso.
Includes the drivers. I mean, Stroll might not be.
Stroll won't be inside that top 3, I'd hope not. You've already got Dan Fallows. You're bringing in Cardile. If you want to get Newey in there as well, immediately you're up to 4. It's very, very odd, isn't it? Like when you just kind of sit down for a second. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not suddenly now here saying Aston Martin are definitely cheating. But I would, and I'm sure obviously down the line we will find out how kind of it, or we'd get a better idea of how it all works. But I would just genuinely love to know how their finances add up within that team. Yeah. Because it is bizarre.
Yeah, it seems to be doing a good job of balancing the books, or maybe a bad job and we just don't know yet.
Exactly, yeah. Is it going to come out once Alonso's won another world title? That is actually the case.
The worrying thing is they could replace Alonso with anyone, and then Stroll might be the number 1 driver.
Oh, don't. Well, Stroll's already technically the number 1 driver, Jamie, within that team. Never forget that.
It's true.
His pit box is the side that implies number 1 driver.
And his camera colour is the number 1 colour. So
it is, exactly. No, he is genuinely registered as the number 1 driver within that team, which I think is frankly hilarious. Speaking of number 1 drivers within different teams, Sergio Perez. There's more kind of speculation, isn't there? Or Jamie mentioned it to me before the show. He could be gone after Belgium. It's just Red Bull is just getting wild with things, and it's kind of mixing up the entire grid again. So for those of you that enjoy it, we're going to ramble on about who's going where.
Yes, we are, because Sergio Perez looks like, at the very least, he won't be driving that car in 2025 if his form stays.
Despite he signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah, with escape clauses, which include being within 100 points of max. By Belgium, that is. And he already isn't, so he's got to make up about 20 points on Verstappen.
No, I believe it's basically mathematically impossible for him now. I think it's 37 points now.
Great. So Perez back-to-back wins and Verstappen back-to-back DNF. So that's one of the exit clauses done. The other one is to be in the top 6, I think, or within 5 positions of Verstappen in the championship.
Which he's probably not going to be by the end of next weekend.
Well, he's 6th right now, isn't he?
Yep.
And Russell and Piastri are about to overtake him.
No, Piastri's ahead of him already.
So is it Hamilton and Russell?
It's Hamilton and Russell.
Yeah, great. And they're on good form at the minute. So basically, he has got his 2-year deal, but it's got escape clauses. And Liam Lawson has tested that Red Bull in the last week. So I'm not saying Lawson would go straight into Red Bull, but I think it's entirely possible that they put one of their V-Carb drivers, probably Ricciardo for some reason, into that Red Bull next to Max Verstappen, and Liam Lawson comes in, so Perez could be gone totally, and that throws a spanner in the works of the midfield teams because they're all waiting on Sainz to pick a team, but now it might be Perez on the market too, which for somebody like Haas or even back to what am I trying to say here, like the Sauber team or Williams, like Perez is a very good option. He's basically another Bottas, isn't he? But a bit more experience in the midfield, more recent experience anyway. So he would be a creditable driver to have. And that kind of puts another driver in the picture for all these teams waiting on Sainz to choose. But Carlos Sainz could also get a lifeline of escaping the mire of this terrible backmarker situation he's got going on, because Toto Wolff seems slightly less hot on Kimi Antonelli as he did maybe 2 months ago, and that Mercedes seat could be back on the picture for Carlos Sainz, and it seems to be a straight fight between Sainz and Antonelli, to be honest. And yeah, Sainz would only get a 1-year deal, but I think he's maybe come to the realization that a 1-year deal at Mercedes is probably better than rotting in an Alfa Romeo. So maybe that's what he's going to do.
Well, especially this year's Sauber car, because, well, fun fact, Jamie, I kind of forgot about this. Bottas is still behind Sargent in the championship standings.
Oh, he only went behind last race. Sargent finished 12th.
Yeah.
At Silverstone.
Well, Bottas is behind him still.
He's 21st, yeah.
It's 21st of the 20-man championship, which is frankly alarming. And what worries me is he might well stay there for the rest of the year because Kick Sauber look absolutely terrible. But I mean, basically, yeah, you end up in a situation now, don't you, where at the moment it kind of feels like the way things are working with those other 5 teams is everyone's waiting for Sainz to decide. And then Ocon's basically going to decide off what Sainz decides.
Yeah.
But you can end up now in a situation where Perez, either he'd slot in between those two or just behind Ocon or something, depending on obviously what's going on. I still feel Mercedes, unless they are now actually championship threats, or not in championship threat, sorry, but obviously can fight for wins and maybe, be a constructors championship threat because they're only 150 points back off Max, which sounds like a lot, but when you think Checo's not scoring, that's possible. Then I can understand why you don't want to put Antonelli if you actually think you're in with a real shot at the world title next year. Any other, though, I'd say just lob him in still. Get him embedded in the team. You want him there longer term in the future. Have him there. Unless, you think you're in the fight for the title next year and then give Sainz a run alongside George for a year. But, I mean, alongside that, you say Lawson? Apparently, he could go straight into the Red Bull, because apparently now, after Arvid Lindblad had one ridiculous weekend at Silverstone in Formula 3, Helmut Marko's now quite saying it's a good job 17-year-olds can race in F1 again, because he might go straight into the V-Carb come the end of the year. It's just all over the show, isn't it, again? And
it is.
Normally
it
feels fun. This year it just feels frustrating.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it to a certain point, but it feels like we go around in circles, but just slightly change what we say every week, which is annoying.
It does. Basically, Hamilton caused all of this by just deciding he wants a piece out of Mercedes.
Because Lewis is the king.
It's now looking a bit, short-sighted, if you ask me.
No, it's not. Don't give me that.
Then you've got Sainz. Basically, he holds the keys now, because wherever he picks will determine everything else. You've got Ocon is probably next choice, so wherever Sainz doesn't go, Ocon will take. And then you've got a ton of other drivers just kind of picking up scraps. So, like Jack Doohan's hanging around, Teo Porcher. Obviously, Sargent is probably not going to be on the grid next year. Neither is Magnussen, neither is Joe, which is very sad.
He says it. He says it.
I don't think it's happening. Bottas is probably third choice behind Ocon, because I think he probably will find he's everyone's second choice, as it were, or everyone's third choice maybe. And now he's throwing Liam Lawson into the picture, and Sergio Perez maybe, and Arvid Lindblad apparently, which I definitely don't think Helmut Marko's talking truth there.
Well, he needs to go back on his meds, doesn't he?
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of drivers who thought they were going to be racing who won't be racing next year. But you will see. And also, Isaac Hadjar is just winning the F2 Championship and looks quite convincing, and just isn't even in with the shout at all.
I'm not convinced still.
Well, he's not a rookie, so he's in his third year, is he?
Second
year. Yeah. But to me, he's won or been within a chance of winning a lot of feature races, so he probably will win the championship.
I still feel that everyone's being rather cautious with F2 this year because it's the idea that, for example,
it's been ridiculously awful.
Was it Joshua Dirksen so far has been doing better than Antonelli, despite the fact they've raced together last year, and Antonelli absolutely wiped the floor with him. I wonder whether later on this year, whether there's going to sort of be more talks from the Formula 1 side of things, kind of going to Mecha Chrome, going, what on earth are you doing? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, because it's just so random.
It's gone from kind of a bit of speculation to get your tinfoil hats out to now it's like no one really trusts what's going on in the series anymore. It's actually down to driver skill and rather just who's won the lottery that weekend. It's so weird. So weird.
Yeah.
Bizarre little thing I've just realised, Jamie. Slightly changing tune. I'd kind of forgot that apart from Max, no one has won more than one race this year.
Yeah, that's a bit crazy. We've had 6 winners already.
Yeah, and 5 of them have only had 1 win.
Yeah, and I would put my money on Piastri having a race win by the end of the season as well. So
are you saying it?
I think it'll happen. Why not? He's getting closer.
He's
getting
there.
I genuinely don't think Perez will win a race.
No, nor do I, to be honest. Because any track that he's going to be competitive enough at, surely Max is going to win. You think right now, unless Red Bull struggle
the only way
reliability.
is if Red Bull are suddenly like seconds clear of everyone again after 5 laps, and Max has a problem. That's the only way Perez wins a race.
But it's not happening anymore, which is fantastic news.
Red Bull haven't been seconds clear of anyone since Japan, probably, was the last time.
Shanghai, they were still... Shanghai, they
Japan
should have been more
after?
comfortable. No, Japan was before.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's ever like Miami was kind of the turning point of like, oh wait, we might actually have a season here.
Hopefully. We continue to live in hope. We kind of discussed everything we really wanted to, haven't we, Jamie? It's been a fairly quiet
let's put some colours on the mast. Where do you think Sainz will drive next year?
I genuinely thought then, by saying colours on the mast, we were going to talk about Ralf Schumacher.
Oh dear.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, that's not what I was going
Sainz
for.
next year. I'm still going to say... No, he won't go Haas, because why on earth would you unless you want Ferrari
Ocon is locked in there, if you ask me.
I hate that idea. I honestly reckon they'd be better off with Magnussen. I'm going to say... Sauber.
Sainz and Hulk reunited in the absolute awful kick Sauber that I've had to kind of support this season, which is a shame.
Yeah, have fun, enjoy it.
I will say Mercedes, which I've
said so many times.
I've said so many different things over the course of the last 6 months, but here we are.
Yeah, Jamie, it's time for your quiz.
Okay, this scares me because of your prep pre-show. It took about half an hour.
It did take half an hour. It took me a good couple of minutes, though. So, you've got a quiz before the quiz. Name me Formula One's first, and to this date only, Hungarian Grand Prix driver. It's a good start.
Well, I know this.
Yes, you should.
Zolt Baumgartner.
Well done.
There we go.
Which teams did he drive for?
Oh dear, you joking? Jordan?
Yes, and he did 2 races for Jordan.
And Minardi?
Correct!
Oh, there we go. I had no idea that memory was in there.
Yep. There are 37
You're not going to say every driver.
other Minardi Formula 1 drivers.
Minardi! Okay,
You have
if it was
2
Jordan, I
minutes
have a chance.
to name them all.
Oh,
3,
dear.
2,
Wait.
1, go.
2 minutes! Okay,
Yep.
I'm getting none of these. Okay, Baumgartner.
He doesn't count.
Why doesn't he count? Alonso.
Yes.
Pedro Diniz.
Oh, dearie me, no. Don't think so.
Mazzacane.
Yes.
Eddie Irvine? No.
Eddie Irvine? Oh, no, to be fair, sorry. I had in my head Eddie Jordan then.
No. This is going to be so bad. Right, modern. Did Raikkonen? No, he was Sauber, wasn't
you got a minute and 20 seconds.
A minute? Are you joking? Minardi went off the grid in 05. Massa? Barrichello?
No.
Fisichella? No, Minardi was so bad. It was just such unserious driving.
Yes, Fisichella did drive for them.
There we go. Minardi.
You got a minute.
Anthony
So far
Davidson?
you've got 3. No. Yes, sorry, yes.
Yes, there we go.
4.
Mika Salo?
No.
It's so hard. Minardi wasn't good for years as well. Oh, Mark Webber.
Yes. 5.
Robert Dornbos? No.
Yes. 6.
Oh, really?
Mr. Sex Toys himself.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, you did. 30 seconds.
It's so bad. There's tons of meaningless Italians. Just
There's so many Italians trying to draw up this list. Like a hilarious amount of Italians.
Jarno Trulli.
Yes, correct.
Oh, wow, you can really say any driver from the 90s.
Yep.
Ralph Schumacher.
10 seconds. Nope, unfortunately not. 5, 4,
Liuzzi.
3, nope, 2, 1. Time.
Oh,
is
Alex
up.
Young. I'll have that.
Yeah, I'll give you Alex Young.
There
to
we
end
go.
Off. So I believe you got about 8 in the end.
That was so bad. I don't want to hear this list.
You're going to hear this list, Jamie, because there's quite a few on here I think you should get. Christian Albers, Patrick Friesacker. Definitely should have got both of those, I feel.
Maybe. I forgot Albert's race before Spiker, to be honest.
Yep.
But he was like a layover from the previous, wasn't he?
He was, exactly. Gian Maria Bruni. You
No
might have heard of
chance.
them. Jos Verstappen. Definitely should have got.
Oh. Yeah, I forgot about Jos. I mean, I tried to most
Nicholas
of the time.
Kaiser, who I'd never heard of, who did one
Nicholas
race for them.
Kieser.
Yeah, sorry, Kieser.
Doesn't he have a son who races in junior formula?
Maybe. Let me have a look. I don't know.
Well, you carry on. I'll do the most research.
Okay, you do the research for that. Justin Wilson.
Oh,
Should
yeah.
remember
should've got
him.
Wilson. Yeah.
Tarso Marquez. Should have heard of him.
Oh, yeah. He was... I just remember you and one of our other friends used to just reel off Minai drivers the entire time at Xbox parties.
Yep.
And he was
Marc
one of them.
Genet.
Oh, yeah.
Stefan Sarazan.
No chance.
Esteban Tuero.
Oh, I've heard of him, but again,
Yep.
wouldn't have picked that one out.
2 icons of the sport up next, Jamie. Shinji Nakano and Ukio Katayama.
Okay, yeah. Wouldn't have got them.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you did. Oh no, I've got Tarso Marquez on the list, so it was only actually 36 you were looking for.
Oh, wow.
There's
I'm way
so many
closer now.
Italians on this list, like it's genuinely hilarious. So Giovanni Lavargi, the one you
Nope.
absolutely should have got more than any other, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Luca Badoa.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was the most races without scoring a point, wasn't he?
He was. Pedro Lamy, Michele Alboreto,
Alboreto
Fabrizio.
drove for them.
Yep.
He was good.
Yeah, but Alboreto, people think raced way earlier than he did.
He was 80s, wasn't he?
He was
mostly?
late 80s and into the 90s, yeah. Fabrizio Barbazza, Jean-Marc Gounon, Alessandro Zanardi, Christian Fittipaldi, Roberto Moreno, Gianni Morbidelli, Paolo Barilla, Louis Perez Sala.
Perez Sala, yeah.
Yep. Adrian Campos, Alessandro Nannini,
Is that
Andrea
Adrian Campos who, as in the
who
Campos
created
guy?
Campos, exactly, yep.
Nannini,
yeah.
I should have got, race winner.
Nannini, De Cesaris, another
winner.
race winner, and Pierluigi Martini. So many Italians.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Italy was a bizarre country back in the mid-80s and into the
Yeah.
90s because it
It's
had
like
a
when
lot
they-
of money.
And just random F1 teams popped up with an Italian flag on, like Andrea Moda.
Exactly.
And just
because
hired
they
2
had
Italians.
a lot of money. It was a bizarre time. Does Kaiser have a son
He doesn't.
in
I
junior
just recognise the
formula?
name from back in the day, I guess.
Fair enough. Are you sure?
Well, he might have a son,
you
but
could have been
he's not.
thinking of.
Not according to Wikipedia.
Fair enough. Okay. Have we got predictions, Jamie, to finish us off? Because that quiz you did
yeah.
terribly.
Yeah. You went before my time, sadly.
What is the scores on the doors? I believe I'm winning, aren't I?
You're winning, I think.
Which doesn't happen often, but it did last year.
48 to 46.
Boy, so you get to go first.
I get to go first. No sprints, which is good.
Thank you. We didn't
Pole
mention
position.
sprints, actually, did we? They're terrible
yeah.
again next year.
Sprints are here. There's only 6 of them, so I'm glad we've not increased it
We're
again.
not up to 8 yet. Give it time.
People are complaining there's not enough in Europe. I actually don't mind it.
I'd like one more in Europe. I
But
don't
all the
want
European
loads.
races generally are like back to back, so it's actually it's harder on the teams to do back to back or
Yeah,
triple
but-
header races with sprints as well.
My logic is the US should get 1 and Europe should get 2. The
Yeah.
fact 2 US Grand Prix have got a sprint again, I find a bit,
Yeah.
and neither of them are Vegas, which actually probably could be quite a good sprint.
Yeah, although Miami sprint was all right, wasn't it? This year, mostly because of Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, Magnussen can make any race interesting.
He can.
Yeah. So what are the sprint races again? There's
It's
2.
all the
Miami
same as
and
this
Kota.
year, except for Austria is replaced with Belgium again.
Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
Okay.
What are we doing? Predictions? Yes, I'm going first. Pole position. I'm going to take this one away from you and say George Russell.
Oh boy.
Race win. It's Max Verstappen. He's not actually won in a while, it feels. I know he's won 2 in a row.
It's been like
recently.
2 races, yeah.
That's a long time by his standards.
It is, to be fair, in the last few years.
So Verstappen won the race from Lando Norris and George Russell.
Interesting. So Russell is going to be a bit like Spain. He's going to
No
lead into
Ferrari.
turn 1 and finish P3.
I think Red Bull and McLaren are the fastest race cars at the minute.
Yeah, that's still fair. Okay. I'm going to... Well, you said George Russell pole, so I'm going to say Max Verstappen.
Not Lewis Hamilton then.
No, I'm not gonna back Lewis on Saturday, but I will on Sunday. No.
Oh.
Max Verstappen win. I'm gonna say Lewis Hamilton P2 and Lando Norris 3rd.
No Ferraris.
No
Ferraris. Picking up Ferrari.
No Ferraris. Jamie.
So actually, the Monaco podium have not got anywhere near our predictions. So
Yep.
that's a good sign for Monaco without the barriers.
Exactly. We love it. We love it.
Yeah.
It's because in Monaco without the barriers doesn't work anymore because, of course, Monaco now is more defined by the bumps than anything else with these ground effect cars. It's not about who can whack the most downforce on anymore. It's very odd.
Yeah, it's true.
Very odd. Jamie, get those predictions in chat. Thank you all.
Good shout.
As always, so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you drop a sub, drop us a follow, all that good stuff. We are mighty close to 650 followers. Obviously, we're trying to hit 1,000, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you could help us get one step closer. And Jamie and I will be back next week then to discuss how Mercedes lapped the entire field. And Lewis Hamilton turns out this weekend was worth 10 times points and now leads the world title.